Welcome back to the Polity, and at this point we will be going to the new topic that has to do with the protest that happened yesterday around the country, and the fact that the police had to intervene again, dispersing them with tear gas and all that. But just before then, let me remind you that at this point you can also call in on 08029938365. The number is on the screen. And so let's have your own contribution on the first topic we talked about, the plateau killings and how to stop the this very unfortunate carnage that has taken over a once peaceful plateau, a very very rich agriculturally rich expanse of land, a place that's so beautiful, the weather is accommodating, wonderful place. How can we return to the glorious days of yore? Let's take this first call now. Hello?
Good afternoon.
You're welcome to the Polity. Go ahead, please. Please, what's your name and where are you calling from? I said you're welcome to the show, yeah?
Yeah, my name is Rabi Salih. I'm calling from Kaftantv State.
Okay. Go on.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. We are talking about the gruesome killing of innocent people which happened in Plateau State.
Yes, yes.
Actually, it is absolutely dangerous. No religious permit the killing of innocent people just like that. So this problem has been occurring almost after some days. Plateau State, the killing almost in every part of Nigeria it is happening. When you look at the nature of Nigeria generally, in some northeastern country there is insurgency, killing people just like that. When you come to northwest, there is incident of kidnapping people and killing them, kidnapping for ransom and killing them and killing innocent lives. Defenseless citizens. So if you look at the southeastern Nigeria, there is incident of kidnapping, agitation, and other things. But the issue of Plateau State, the government has done everything possible to ameliorate or to prevent this killing. I can remember the last few months ago, GOC Commander Major General Abdulsalam Abubakar have played an important role in making arbitration between the community. But now, when everything goes down, some people will go and kill innocent people just like that. So we are not happy about this bloodshed. We can't let an innocent people were gruesomely wounded. Their houses were burned. So this country, our leaders will need to wake up to protect the innocent lives. Because we cannot be still like that. Every blessing, look at what is happening in Benue State. Benue State, there is a lot of killing in Benue State. Plateau State, Taraba State. So we cannot live like that, where a lot of people's lives are wasted.
All right, Rabi, we need to leave it here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So, like I was saying, we need to begin to look at the protests and the police dispersing them yesterday with tear gas and all that. We need to talk about this, and is it really is it an offense to protest?
Well, I've been part of several protests, so that demonstration will not be an offense. It's an exercise of your human right and human disposition.
Okay.
However, in the process of doing it, you've got to guarantee the right and privileges of others. So to that extent, if you are beginning to violate the right of others, I think that if the security forces decide to disperse the crowd, they will not be doing what is wrong.
That is if there's an element of violence.
If there's an element of preventing other people, because see, SARS riot, I've seen several reports, but I'm still waiting for people who will tell us how many people died because the ambulance couldn't pass through the road when the roads were blocked, because people who were going to the hospital couldn't make it, because people who left their house in Kano, get to Kaduna, meet the traffic, stay there for 8 hours and miss their international flight in Abuja. People coming from different, what were the things? People were not part of the demonstration and who were not representing the government. What were their losses in October 2020 during the SARS riot? Nobody has been able to document that. Their rights are also being violated. So for me, it is good to protest. It is good to make your point known. But when you also begin to deprive others of their right or of their means of livelihood, their right to life,
we'll get to that now.
Then we think, I
like that qualification, but we'll get to that. Hello.
I agree with you.
Hello. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Good afternoon. Dayo. Yes, good afternoon.
Awusko from Kaduna.
Awusko.
Yeah. Good day, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's hit it, yeah?
Yes. The Boko's killing is really unnecessary. You see, I agree with one of your guests there who said it is pure land grabbing.
Straight away.
These invaders, they are mainly from Mali, Central African Republic, Senegal. They don't speak English, they speak Bambaya. And it's an agenda of some people, an agenda of people who claim that they are patron of a certain language worldwide, and they want to create room for their people who are facing stresses all over to come to Nigeria and take over our land. That is not going to happen. Therefore, I'm calling on Tinubu, a pro-democrat who fought for the democracy of Nigeria and who is intended to keep the unity of Nigeria one, to give Christopher Musa the authority, just as one of your guests said, take the fight to these people, wipe them away from Nigeria. And their collaborators and their sponsors be made to face the wrath of the law. Why can Nigeria and other why can Nigeria become a killing field? All these years will enter democracy. It's uncalled for. Tinubu must act now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Awusko. Thank you. Yeah. So, you were saying that,
people have right to protest.
But
they should respect the right.
And then you said, how many people got stuck and were unable to go to work because of the protests, or missed their appointments,
or missed their means of livelihood, lost money because of SARS riot? Has anybody documented that?
Now, if there's a riot,
yeah,
who was supposed to make sure that those? I mean, what was the essence of the riot, if not to press home certain
you can press home your demand,
yes,
without necessarily disrupting the livelihood of others.
Well, I agree, but you see, I think that we have a challenge here. And I will be asking, now, how do you think that can be done?
No, wait. We are not talking about violence, and we are not talking about...
I understand him perfectly.
What we are talking about is demonstration. A group of people decide to demonstrate.
Yes.
Push forward through protests.
Yes.
That they do not like who or government is doing. Now, before you organize a protest, I think the Constitution or the Police Act has some guidelines that you have to follow. Number one, you should write and seek permission to hold.
I think the judiciary has laid that to rest in a case that Falana
that's what
where it said there was even no need to get a permission.
Yes, I know. Okay, let's say no need for permission. But when you now want to move a large number of people on the streets or in a particular location, then some agencies of government will have to be aware of it. And probably, if you don't call it permission, if you don't call it giving you the authority to go and do what the Constitution says you should go and do, at least you should
maybe for protection,
for collaboration with them. But in a situation where even the security agency, they cannot guarantee that this thing that you want to do, this protest that you want to do, will not bring about violence, or it will not bring about a situation where you will impinge on the rights of others. I think you should listen to them and work with them so as to ensure that this your demonstration is planned very well. We see demonstrations from outside or even from same climes where you will be demonstrating in a side of the road and normal activities will be going on with a good protection from the law enforcement agencies. It doesn't stop you. You can go to a very large ground and do your demonstration with media coverage and all. You don't disturb anybody. But in a situation where you and I know that what you want to do, you yourself, you are not in control of the crowd. Those that you do not even know can join, and they can use the opportunity of the good thing that you are trying to do to destroy and to loot other people's property. Then I don't think the law enforcement agents or the government will just sit idly and watch you.
All right, okay. Because see, what you people have succeeded in doing is that you have made very light of whatever the protest or protesters want to do or what they have, what their grouse is. That's what I perceive of this. For example, you cited the SARS protest.
Yeah.
Now, in spite of all the inconvenience, in spite of all the frustration that came with it,
yes,
how much of the demands have been met thus far?
Well, the thing is this. Now, when you say their demand, their initial demand were just 3 or 4, right? Before they began to expand and expand. And of course, you will still look at that. How organized were the people? Who were the actual leaders? Now, because when you say, okay, we are negotiating this and we need to carry it forward, the leaders have got to know, okay, this is the point that my people have raised. I am the face of this protest and I am ready to work with the government to ensure that these steps that has been agreed are taken. But we know that in that protest, that wasn't the case. Like you were saying about protest, I think when Kinshasa was installed, there were people protesting on the street of London, along the same Westminster, who had their placard. The people who had they were standing on the other side of the road. BBC, all the global press saw them with their banners, "Not my king." If you remember, the king was being installed. Everybody is celebrating, but they also lined the same route. "Not my king." That's a protest. They were their say, but they don't have to stop the procession from going on. But they are saying, "No, he's not my king." They were not calling for military takeover. They were not calling for the proceedings not to happen. No, but they were there on the route. But we also know that August last year there was another protest in the same UK, and some people are in jail right now for their role in the protest.
Yeah, if there was some violence, of course.
Yeah, there was violence. The police took them, and before you knew it, people had gone to jail for.
Let's also take into this conversation the August riots of last year in Nigeria. You recall that at a point they were limited to the MK Abiola Stadium in Abuja here.
Yes.
Yet, even then, there were moves to frustrate the protest, even right there within the stadium. So the point now, it now gets the whole essence is to ensure that there is no protest at all. And for me, I think that will be a denunciation of our constitution.
No, I think we have. I think we have gone past that. If I can recall the press release from the office of the Minister of Youth and Sports, Minister of Information, on this last take back.
Minister of Youth Development. Yes.
They said the federal government said they have the right to protest and they are not against their protests, but that government will not allow vandalization of public property. I think that is a step forward. It is a shade above what we've been having in the past. Now they can protest. It is now left for those that are organizing protests. Number one, their protest must make sense. It must be well planned, and it must have very good intentions. If it is just to protest, they must have the right set of people that they themselves know that they can control, and they have the same mindset with them. When you now organize a protest that is a free for all, where even thugs and touts are free to join, and you have no control over them, then there is going to be a problem. Well, that's what we're saying.
Yes, agreed. But we have not seen that in many cases when the police intervenes, a lot of times it's just a matter of routine. And it ought not to be so from what you are even saying. Yeah. It ought not to be a matter of routine to just go clear the people. It ought to be on these kind of grounds that you have listed. And in the case of Take It Back, we didn't hear any such
now, this is where it was. The police allowed them to gather.
Yes.
The press gathered with them.
Yes.
They have addressed the press.
Yes.
But they now chose, okay, they are going to walk certain routes for which the police think if they walk that route in Port Harcourt, there might be stealing, because you will not be able to control. You can walk people through a market street and expect that nothing will happen. Even students, when we think we have eyes, when you get back to their hostel in the evening, you will see side mirror. Where those side mirrors come from? They have pulled it from cars on the road during the demonstration. Yes. I remember we saw such. So at some point we're more like, we had better contain them at our gate and invite the press, or go to the press and make press statements.
Yes.
And so that at least everybody knows what we are passing through or why we are agitating, as against put them on the street and people will have needless losses. Now, when you also look at maybe in this particular protest, two of the points, one has to do with state of emergency in Rivers, the other has to do with cybercrime law. For me, cybercrime law, as it is written up until now, I've not seen anything there that is meant to gag anybody. Yes. It's only saying you are free to speak, but be ready to take responsibility for your speech. Not that you go to the press and announce somebody that is alive is dead, and then you create confusion here and there.
Or you say the INEC chairman has been
replaced with
so clearly people should be ready to take responsibility. If freedom of speech is a privilege, but after the speech you must own up to the responsibility of the consequence of your statement.
Yes.
So, and people don't want to be held accountable. I think that is the real problem.
You can
if you say the truth,
I think
you are picked up for saying the truth, you will go to court and you will defend yourself.
I think that the problem with such things is that usually, I've not seen the law, but usually they are constructed in such ways that people who truly really want to use it as a gagging tool can use it to achieve such purpose. Now, if we are limited, if it is specified the way you have said, most people won't have any issues with it, because I even have issues with all kinds of content on the social media, for example, that I think should be totally not allowed.
The first PRO said anybody that has a case of somebody that has been unduly gagged from expressing his views, or after expressing his view, he's been
maltreated,
that should come forward. That all those that have been arrested or that have been investigated or taken to court have been people that have been using the social media to oppress others, and to extort money. Criminals masquerading as social media activists or content creators or influencers, which I want to believe. Imagine what fake news.
Or the level of fake news is huge. Like the example you cited, when I saw it, but you see, again, I think a lot depends on the people who consume this content. Immediately I saw that information, I had check inside of me that this is not correct.
That's because you are more discerning, the few discerning.
I'm saying people should be a lot more discerning.
Let me tell you,
a friend of mine posted. He didn't put all the information. He said, I have issues with this kind of information. I doubt the authenticity. He didn't put the details, but I commented and I said, I have a gift of also. He said he has a way of smelling fake news. So I said, I think I have such a gift too, that I think this, if it is, I'm sure it has to do with the INEC chairman, this thing. He said, fantastic. That, how did I know? So I'm saying that people should not gobble what's on this media space, hook, line, and sinker.
Even until yesterday, we saw Wike at a public place. We saw him. People are still saying that Wike is in the hospital.
Still explaining that he never had stroke.
The man came out and said he doesn't have stroke, but you will still see that Wike had stroke and has been flown to France. In fact, some people
I think it was needless for him to explain, because first of all, he knocked it out by showing up the folling day at the Salah. But again,
they're still not continuing to do it.
Don't forget that to even give it some life a little was the fact that he was missing at the birthday celebration of Mr. President, knowing their closeness, knowing his penchant for being in such places, and he was not there. He sort of anything, but clearly, I think that there should be a proper regulation. I mean, a fair regulation of the media space, because there is too much. How do you just wake up and say the INEC chairman has been removed? Not only that it has been removed, they provided a name of a replacement. How do you do that? But we're deviating from.
Well, no, it's part of it. Last week we read that the CBN has introduced new higher denominations of currency, and it wasn't true. Immediately CBN came out to say it has not, and the thing kept repeating itself.
But people kept questioning it. So we have this penchant of those who think any information that is wrong about the government must be
posted.
They told us at some point we have Sudan, Jubilee from Sudan.
Yes.
That our president has been.
How could anybody believe
something
that
is so idiotic? But for more than 2 years, people kept it going.
True.
At some point, we saw a wedding card of the president, then marrying another wife,
a minister.
And it's this kind of things. No, it's not acceptable. You see somebody say a sitting president bought sold Transcorp to himself and this and that, and some people are using that to be the current president when we actually know who did. But they are not telling you, they are not telling us who did, they are just posting it and they are saying you can see what Tinubu is doing. Those are not, for me, fair statements. People who repost such information should actually be punished for feeding lies or unverified. Because you did not verify it, you post it. You should be punished to that extent. You didn't originate it. But
but once you identify the originator,
even people who spread.
No.
See, Yorùbá ṣe àgbẹ̀pẹ̀lájà pẹ̀lú ẹni tó gbà sílẹ̀ ara òní.
No, that would be.
No, that stuff should be. He says you must verify.
I think that once you deal with it to the root, I think it's good enough.
You should verify before.
So let's get back now. Are we saying that this incidence of the police always dispersing protesters is good enough for us?
Well, when you say dispersed protester, now go back to the August last year that you were saying.
Yes.
No tear gas was shot at MKO Stadium. It was the people who took over it was people who took over the airport road, claiming they were going to Eagle Square. If you check, were those that the police had altercation with, and those who gathered at Eagle Square, not people who were inside MKO Stadium. In fact, the people at MKO Stadium refused to enter. The police didn't stop them.
No, I think there was a report. If I remember correctly,
going into the town.
No, at a point, I think the police also frustrated people from going into the MKO Stadium. I think
they said they would not enter.
Correctly.
No, the people said they would not enter. That if they enter, how will anybody know that they are there? They were the ones who said they will not enter. They would rather stay on the road. And when they stayed on the road, they were there. The issue began when they now said they want to proceed along the road linking the Ayaso road.
Because I remember that I covered the very first day. I even had an interview with DG Adeyanju that day. They refused to enter. Gate. So
they refused to enter. They want to be outside.
Even as we begin to round up, this is very crucial that we begin to now look at this just before we go. So you and I have a grouse with the system.
Yeah.
Because this is a program for education, for enlightenment and all that. What should we do?
Well, write a protest letter or petition to relevant authorities. And if, of course, we want to run the social media, we can. If we have enough crowd, we can also decide to do our own organize a press conference, address the press, and let the world know this is what we are going to do.
Nothing changes.
Now there is a national function. We can decide to go to the extent without breaking the law to present what we have. You wear a shirt that say "Not my president," for instance, and then you line the road. You are not disturbing traffic movement. A policeman or security man in that place will, for me, will be jobless enough to lead the crowd that is doing the real event to come and be disturbing you. But you will have made your statement loud and clear, because the press will see you, the international press will notice you, and you would have made your statement. Because ab initio, then of course you have people who represent you in the House of Assembly, in the Senate, in the House of Rep. You should also attempt to push a bill that can address your concern, or petition that can address your concern through these representatives to the various houses. And then if all that seems not to work, as a citizen, go to court.
There was a day,
all right,
on the streets of Abuja, a lone protester.
Yeah.
I saw him on the streets at a traffic junction. Very known Nigerian, an activist. He carried the Nigerian flag, and he was protesting and saying some very things that I considered unprintable. Was saying it there about government functionaries. Vehicles were passing right, left, and center. He was there, right in the middle of the road. He moved from there to another junction. He was doing the same thing. I think he organized his own filming. Nobody disturbed him. He said all that he wanted to say. And I think when he felt he has said enough, he packed his camera and all and went. See,
what effect did that have
That's left for him to decide.
He has satisfied his conscience.
It is not the day. It is not that the day you don't make a protest so as to shut the government down.
Agreed.
That should not.
But sometimes that's the only way.
No, it should not.
Sometimes that's the only way. That's why Labour will apply that route.
It's not the only way.
Because as we speak,
No.
all that energy, all the press,
is wasted.
all that press conference, all everything that the Labour did,
Yes.
as we speak right now, 20 state governors are not complying with the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Now, we got to go right now.
An action that you begin to get
So we have to go right now because of time, and I must say thank you to every of our viewers from around the world. Thank you for staying tuned to Kaftan TV. Tomorrow is another day. Please do stay tuned at the same time tomorrow, and Polity will be on the air. And as I ask you also to join me later today on Matters Horizon, it's the flagship talk show of our station, and you can be sure that you'll be well served. I must say thank you, Ben. Thanks for coming all the time, every single time I reach out to you. Thank you, Segun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, production team. Big up to all of you. And at this point, I must say bye-bye now. Thank you very much.